Hello, Luke here. I would just like to take a moment to disclose upfront that we sometimes talk about sensitive topics in our podcasts, and in fairness to our audience, we will try our best to put specific warnings in the descriptions of each episode. Now on with the show.
Where'd Juno go wrong? We lost the way. Sarah fell and hit her head. Blind monsters we gotta fight. In a cave, no light. Welcome to the Nostalgia Killers podcast, where we revisit films from our youth to see if they still hold up or should be inserted into the great DVD player in the sky. It is I, Chuck Starzenski, once again spelunking the caves of nostalgia to see if these films are worth watching. And I'm actually joined with the entire Martinez family today.
Woo woo, represent.
Woo. Well, probably not the entire family, but like a good smattering. So, as always, almost as always, once again, for the umpteenth time, joined by Javier Martinez.
Heck yeah, excited to be here again, and glad to have my family to back me up here.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah, don't make assumptions. Don't write checks your ass can't catch, Javi.
Yeah.
And the lady that pays the bills, that keeps the lights on, our executive producer, Addy Martinez.
Super excited to be here again. I'm really excited for this one, actually.
And making her Nostalgia Killers debut for the first time ever, we have the tiniest Martinez. We have... both in stature and in age. We have Miranda Martinez.
The coolest Martinez, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Today's movie, we watch The Descent. A woman goes in a hole in the ground to watch some of her friends die in order to get over watching her entire family die.
Pretty much.
And stay tuned after the show for the Sonic Death Monkey Top 5, brought to you once again by Goose and Fern, English pub here in Santa Rosa, California. And for today's Sonic Death Monkey, we have the top 5 movie characters that you'd like to be stuck in a cave with. And it's about that time that we announce our honorary Sam Coughlin spoiler alert. That's right, this movie came out about 20-something years ago. If you have not seen it, you can go back and watch it. It is on something. I think I watched it illegally on YouTube, but it is streaming somewhere. This was your pick, Javi. What does this movie mean to you?
I saw this movie in 2010 at like 2 a.m. This is the only singular time that I ever snuck out of my house. But it wasn't really snuck, because I don't think my parents would have been pissed. They would have just been like, where are you going? Like, it's like 2 a.m. Like, get your ass back over here. Like, again, it's not really sneaking out, but I kind of just left, right?
You snuck out.
Snuck out, I guess. Long story short, a friend called me, said she was having a really hard time, and just basically needed somebody to like hang out with her, for a bit or whatever. And so I went over, and we were whatever, hanging out, and so, let's watch a movie or something. Cool, let's watch a movie. Just randomly scrolled and found The Descent. Both of us had never seen it. But she's like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's watch that. I'm like, all right. Worst fucking mistake ever, because again, it's like 2 a.m., man. The lights off, and like it was scary as fuck. I remember being like trying my hardest to like not, show fear or anything like that, but just be like, holy shit, this is really scary. Terrible. I was like so tired the next day.
This was actually my first time watching it. Very surprised. It's hard to find a movie that actually keeps me on the edge of my seat when they claim to be suspense or thriller or scary movies. And this one had me on the edge of my seat. I am also extremely claustrophobic.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
And so yeah. I watched it and I was hyperventilating throughout the movie, but it was great.
This movie had no relevance to me till 4 hours ago. So I figured it was going to be, scary, suspenseful. I definitely agree with Addy that I felt anxious the entire movie. Even though I was anxious, I still really enjoyed it. And I guess now I can put an emotional attachment to it because I watched this movie, I got on this podcast.
Yeah.
Your gateway movie.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is so exciting. This is the first time I've watched this movie, which means you're the only person who has any attachment to this movie, Javier. That's amazing. Yeah. I assumed that, I just made assumptions. I was like, oh, this is like a movie that, you guys watched growing up together, and, it had this kind of Javi put on this spooky movie, and, this whole connotation. No. Not at all.
Nope, no relevance.
Never. Yeah, this was my first time watching this. This came out while I was still in high school, and this came came out at the same time as like 2 other movies that were super similar. There was a movie called The Cave and a movie called The Ruins.
Yeah, The Ruins.
And like a friend of mine in high school was like, oh, I went to the movies last night and saw one of those. And I was like, it sucked. It was awful. Don't go see it. And so I just shelved this movie as the one that he was talking about my entire life until like, maybe 2 years ago. And then I saw like all this kind of buzz of like, oh yeah, like The Descent, like the movie that, it's like a cult classic and it's overlooked and all that. And I was like, the stupid one with the plants?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, that's The Ruin. And then it's like, oh, the one with like so-and-so. And it's like, no, that's The Cave. And I'm like, oh, what's The Descent? Went in completely blind.
Nice.
Had a great fucking time. But yeah, since you're the only person with nostalgia, Javi, what are your favorite scenes from that maybe still stick with you?
One of my favorite things about it, especially for you guys going in blind, you get that first half of the movie, the terrifying aspect of like being stuck in a cave and like the desperation of them trying to get out. And then you have the reveal that like, oh shit, there's also something down here with them. So I think that first little glimpse we get, it's like a shadow on the wall or something. And she's looking away and then she goes back to it like, oh, never mind. I'm just seeing things, yeah. So I think that first moment, I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, what the fuck was that?
In a lower budgeted movie, that would be like the last scene. It'd be like the classic, like, there's nothing out here. You guys are crazy. And then all of a sudden, like right behind, and then credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, going into it blindly, I expected there to be something down there. And then during the first half of the movie, I forgot that I was expecting something to be down there because I was so caught up on the fact that, oh shit, they might die down here. As soon as you hear that like little growl and she like turns around real quick, I was like, oh my God, there is something down there. One of my favorite scenes, Sarah making the little fire pit amongst all the corpses.
Oh yeah.
And just like you just see this very like faint glimpse of what she's doing. You just see her wrestling around and like breaking things apart. But I was also expecting something to come out at that moment. So the entire time that she's building it, I'm like waiting for a jump. I really like that the movie had a lot of that, where there was a lot of moments where I was expecting to get a jump scare.
Yeah.
And nothing would happen, and then I'd calm down a little bit, and then it'd be like, oh.
And then you'd get it, like that triple fake out, whatever, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the movie feels like a game of, and again, this is an audio podcast, but like when you have your hands out waiting for them to be slapped. And it's just, and you're like, when's it? No. And then like once you finally relax, that's when you get hit.
Beth's death scene, or the first death scene when I
she
saw
first
she
gets
was
stabbed.
dead. Yeah, I gave out like a yelp when I first saw that. I jumped. I was so concerned. I don't know, because they didn't make like such a big deal out of it. Like Juno wasn't like screaming like, "Oh my God!" They both just like made intense like eye contact with each other.
Right, just that shock.
Just that realization of what happened.
Oh fuck, I just killed my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no one said it, so I'm just going to take it. Sarah being baptized in the blood pool and emerging as just like a badass crawler huntress.
Yeah.
Like she just comes out and all of a sudden she's just like completely reborn. It's time to hunt these little blind bastards.
Fun fact, me and Miranda rewatched that scene about 3 times.
Hell yeah.
Because it was so good.
Yeah, going off the badassery, the scene where Juno and Sarah like they have their final like showdown with all the creatures and they're just beating the shit out of them. They're like smashing their heads on rocks and like throwing them off and like they're just full on survival mode. Yeah, again, it's just very like visceral. It's just like, again, like you said, survival mode. They're just trying to get out of here and kill these bastards. They call them bastards like 3 times in the movie. It's great. I'm like, yeah.
Going in the completely opposite direction of that, one of the not like so badass moments, pretty close to the beginning, is when Sarah gets stuck at first. And then it's Beth that goes back to like try to calm her down, and they're talking, and then you just hear the rumble. And they're like, oh, like we gotta go. Like that for some reason. Just I was like, that was a good one.
It was like sweaty palms the whole time. I was like, no.
I think at that moment I forgot that I was expecting something down there because I was like, oh, like this is going to collapse on them at any moment.
That idea of like, oh, this is already a terrifying situation. I mean, if you're not like into that sort of thing, which I think most people aren't, right? But then on top of that, then you also know that you got this other threat coming soon. I'm gonna go ahead and shout out the makeup and the practical effects.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, that's really cool. It's cool looking. It's like gooey and like I'm like, oh yeah, those are just like actors in like the rubber suits and stuff. It looks great.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that it was from 2005.
Yeah.
Because again, I didn't look it up until after I watched the movie, and I was like, "Oh, this was like a while ago."
Yeah, and like their eyes, they look like amphibian eyes, like little frog eyes. Like I was trying to fathom how they even like, what's going on? Are they looking through like little pinholes somewhere else, and then that's just all like makeup, or? Yeah,
right, because they're like more on the side of the face. Sorry, more on the side of the face. Yeah.
Final Destination pulls through the window.
Yeah.
I literally just shrieked in my apartment at 1 a.m. I was like, ah! And like my wife actually this morning was just like, dude, you were yelling so much. And I was like, what? She's like, look, I know like it's just like it was like 2 a.m. and you were just like screaming. And I was like, well, it was scary, all right? It was a scary movie, Lauren. High praise for this movie. Anything that can make me do that, anything that can make me shriek like a girl in my own apartment is like, oh,
yeah,
so good.
Totally. And yeah, I guess, being the only person here who has seen it multiple times, yeah, it still gets me every time. Like, again, if I'm watching it like in the right mood, at the right time, like it still, I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Like, I forgot.
I know that was one of the things that I thought of. I'm like, how much time am I going to have to give this movie before I rewatch it? Because I already want to rewatch it just to like go through it again.
I also just really like that we get to know the group a little bit before, their demise. Like I like the fact that like, we get that classic like, oh, group of, youngish people like kind of planning this awesome weekend. Sans the like douchebaggery or like, Sarah, stop being a bitch, and it's all pretty just like, oh yeah, we get to know like, oh, one of them's a doctor, and like some of our friends, like some of them are new to the group, and like, again, they're smart and they're knowledgeable. You talked about when she's building the torch, so we get like little glimpses of like, they ask the doctor like, hey, like, any idea what these things are? It's like, well, clearly they're blind, and she's looking at the eyes. So it's just cool that they all get to kind of apply their little bit of knowledge, and, they all kind of like stay, as calm as they could be in that situation, right? They're obviously scared, but they're not like, oh my God, we're gonna fucking die down here. Like which another movie would do.
It just reminded me of the bone fixing and splinting the leg.
Oh, yeah, when she falls.
Yeah.
Just the characters continuously like showing it's like what they're capable of, and still being relevant to the group. But that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Also, it's awesome that happens before like any kind of monster attack, because then it's like you get the like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually a doctor. She's going to reset the bone. She's going to fix everything. She's going to take care of everybody. Yeah. As opposed to just like, oh my God, Becky's been bit. And it's like, well, I happen to be a doctor. So like just out of nowhere. And it's like, what the fuck is she a doctor?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if it was a set or if it was, shot on location at actual caves, or how if it was 50-50. But just like, I guess the work that they did with that was pretty impressive. Of like, it's hard to kind of, if you're just telling someone like, oh, this is a movie and like most of it takes place like in a cave and it's dark, and how exciting could that really be in terms of like how much you're getting to see, but they did a good job, I think. And I really enjoyed, the little bit of lighting that they did have, and working with like being, in a small space.
There was definitely a balance between them using like the night vision camera and like the flares and things like that, where it really opened the scene up, and then it like for suspenseful moments it was
the light dims
more
and then
tunneled.
Back down to.
Moving on to nitpicks and fixes.
I'll say my biggest one: Beth blaming Juno for killing her. I don't know, like maybe it's just the way it's shot, or maybe it was the way it's edited, but like to me it was very clear. I'm like, dude, like your friend like quickly spun around and like instinct reaction, like stabbed away at whatever was behind her.
It was the adrenaline.
You really thought she did that on purpose? Like, like I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like, just like you guys, I gasped when that happened, and I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, I kind of like know where this is kind of gonna go, but like, you intentionally murdered me?
Yeah, and she's also like going full fucking Blade, like Aragon on these like crawling white things, and then just like, yeah. So it's like also if you, obviously panic and all that, but like if you see your friend just like spinning around with a fucking like scimitar, like just like stabbing people in the neck and like, like it's like, yeah, maybe just like stay back.
Yeah, don't walk a little bit.
I was surprised, like during the blood, like the pool of blood scene when Sarah was like fighting that. God, what are they called?
Cave people?
Crawlers is what I had to look it up because I was just like, I don't know, spooky cave people. But it was like,
okay, crawlers.
Okay, when she was fighting like the crawler, at one point we see her grab like an antler of an animal or something, and she hits it directly in the eye and it dies. Super useful. She tosses it. Why? If she knows it killed it in one stab. I don't know. It's like,
and at that point they did know that there was multiple. Right? It wasn't like, oh, it's the first one they encountered. It's like she didn't know there was more out there. potentially. So it's kind of weird. You're right.
Like, sure, there are a bunch of bones, but you already had that one in your hand. Why bother looking for more?
The stare down at the end, so right before the scene that you mentioned where Juno and Sarah are having like their final battle, the stare down between the two of them and the three crawlers, it's like, aren't they blind?
Yeah.
Like, they were being really quiet, and like the crawlers were just like
Still
staring.
coming in for them?
Yeah. So that kind of threw me off. I was like, oh, there's three of them. I was like, and then no one was making any sound, and I was like, cool, they're gonna avoid them. And then they just start like,
Yeah, it was like a gang standoff kind of thing for no reason.
yeah.
Yeah, there's little inconsistencies like that with the
like,
crawler's abilities, and like how good they do or don't hear or see. Like,
I also did realize, I was like, I don't know if there's different stages, like maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but like the female crawler seemed to have more pupils in her eyes than the male ones. Like, they were all whited out and you could clearly tell that they were blind. But then the female one that comes up towards the end, she has more pupils in her eyes. So I was like, maybe there's like stages of how long they've been down. I don't know.
oh, I didn't catch
I was
that.
like, so that's kind of what I thought. I was like, well, they're close to the end. Maybe they're the ones who go up and like forage for the food so they can still kind of see. But again, that took me thinking a lot about it. But at first I was like, oh, I thought they were all blind. It just threw me out of that.
Excuses, like, you're not even through the film yet. You're like, well, that's probably what's going on. Yeah, my biggest one is, aside from Juno and Holly, all of the girls blend together in the fucking cave. I kept mixing up Becca and Sarah as well as Beth and Sam. I literally like made my notes last night, like while I was watching the movie. I was like, okay, Becca equal Uma Thurman. Sarah equal girl with camera who not good. You know, like just like doing things like that, like being like Beth girl who climbed first, like that. And then so their character traits like weren't strong enough to help distinguish who was who at all. Like I was just like, on that same note, Sarah's like the weakest character in the whole movie. She did not deserve to be the final girl, because you got like Becca and Sam and Juno all like fighting back and having agency, and like one's a doctor, goddammit, and one's like a, you know, like absolute like survivalist. Like Becca's the girl who like does, which should have mentioned this in favorite scene, she's the one who does the fucking Tomb Raider, like just hand climbing to like get the line in so all the other girls can like climb across the chasm before there's any monsters. And it's like, wait, what? Not her? Right. It's like, it's the girl who's kind of like staring off a lot and just like, I don't know, guys. It's like she's the one who becomes the badass, and is like, I don't know. I was just like, okay, fine.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned the opening, but to me, I mean, it's not like a huge nitpick or anything, but I just think as like a scene to like kind of like establish the death of her family, I think it's a little unnecessary to have it be like so graphic. Yeah. Like seeing like you get the squirt of blood and the poles going, you know, like I think just having a car crash would have been fine, and then like, oh, hey, your daughter's dead. Like, oh, you know, I think the pole going through with like the blood is a little too much.
I think it's because it's 2005 and like you're a Saw guy.
Yeah,
so
it's very shock value. It's very like,
well, it's like, yeah, and it's one of those things of like, oh, did you see The Descent? Yeah, that movie sucked. Like no one even got their fingers cut off. Like, you know, so it's just like they had to do something kind of like that, I think.
the one part of the movie where I like actually like laughed when Beth asks Sarah for the mercy kill, like, you know, like, please, you know, like don't, you know, and Sarah just grabs a rock and smashes her fucking head. I was like, that was the what? That was your idea? Like, you know, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess either, you know, dying either way sucks, but like, I don't know. I feel like she could have like, you know, strangled her or something. You know, it's less painful. I think it's scarier, I guess, but I think I'd rather have scary or a prolonged death than just like.
Yeah, the monsters got off lighter. It's like just stab. Like she already got stabbed. Just stab her again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just finish the job. But yeah, I'm like, dude, like. I don't know, like, what are the chances that you know, actually, like, killed her with that first hit, too? You know, I mean, I think they did in the movie, but, like, in real life, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's another hit or two before, like, she's, like, dead.
The very, very end was probably my biggest nitpick, because I feel
ending?
like, I feel like they could have done that so much better, where it's like, Juno runs up to the car, still alive, and, like, you know, the window, or... Like, I didn't...
I wasn't even sure, like, was that supposed to be her ghost? Like, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, well, and then Miranda had mentioned that maybe it was her imagination, but it's so random. Again, I was like, I feel like they could have done something cooler, or like, Juno's hooked onto the back of the car, you know, made it out last minute, but that was, like, it took me out of the movie. I was like, wait, is there ghosts involved now? Like,
yeah.
So.
Which, Chuck, do you have this in the trivia?
I do.
You do? Okay, so I won't mention it then.
Okay.
Well, since Addy mentioned kind of like the idea of like ghosts, I also was kind of annoyed with the fact that they would have the daughter's laughter a lot in the movie, which made me think, oh, maybe it's spirits, something trying to imitate. But then it's nothing. It's just creatures, I guess, you know.
We can only assume that she's hallucinating her daughter's laughter, but it's not tied into...
Exactly. I don't know.
Well, there's one of those things where, like,
don't
it's supposed to be a metaphor for, like, her grief or whatever. She, you know.
I guess.
But it was, like, super weak. It was,
you're right. It's kind of tacky, just very like, oh, guys, she's going through a lot right now.
She's crazy.
Yeah. This movie just reminds me how little upper body strength I have. It just pissed me off.
This movie just makes you feel inadequate.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that scene where she, like, you know, has to crawl along the ceiling, and I'm like, Jesus, like dangling by one arm and like using the other arm to drill a hole. Like, yeah, these are some tough people, man.
Yeah, I did love too when she's dangling and they're like, "What are you doing up there, Becca? Hurry up!" And she's hanging by like one hand, being like really looking at the eyelet thing, like that somebody left there like 100 years ago or whatever. Which I don't know how the fuck they know it's 100 years old, but she's just like, "Huh, that's kind of weird." And just like literally like she has like 2 fingernails in a rock holding her entire body up. It's just, it's insane. On to this movie's rainy day double feature. What movie would you pair this with?
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I would absolutely, like, I'm going to watch this movie first, give myself a little scare. Then I can keep the adventure theme going, but have a little more fun with it. Yeah. I feel like that would be a nice little pairing.
Be like that little, like, oh, don't worry. This is actually what it's like.
Exactly.
There's no monsters down there. It's just Brendan Fraser and glowing plants or whatever.
Dinosaurs, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Weird fish creatures.
I had 2, but I'm going to go ahead and pick one right now on the spot. I'm going to go with Don't Breathe, just for the kind of like in the dark and like claustrophobic and like you gotta be really quiet because they don't hear us aspect of it.
First thing that popped in my mind, and I was like, I would probably watch it just because of all the blood. Was the first thing that popped in my mind was Evil Dead. It's like just to keep like that suspense and gory like theme. It's like I would just double down. It's like let's see more of it.
Hell yeah, great minds think alike. I also said the Evil Dead. I said the newer one, the 2013 one.
Yeah.
Just like the vibe and the bloodshed, especially just like her coming out of the pool of blood. And then like at the end when it just literally rains blood on her. I was just like, yeah, maybe you really want to rewatch that actually.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, on to this movie's cocktail. Yeah. So today for the podcast, we're drinking the Rockslide. So you've got an ounce of bourbon, an ounce of coffee liqueur, 1/4 ounce of vanilla liqueur, and a scoop of chocolate ice cream. Shake all the ingredients until the ice cream melts and serve in a chilled glass as you, really trust in your friends that they took you to a park that everyone has been to and, knows how to navigate. And it's not like just a random fucking hole in the ground. That was another thing that was just like, when she's like, I did this for you, Sarah, okay? I thought we could name it after you.
Right. You're right. That is the one stupid thing that the characters do, that any of the characters do in the film.
Yeah.
It's like,
on that note, it's time for our first ad break. Ad break. And we're back with Act 2, everyone's favorite section, the trivia section. It's time to find out if our guests are big point ballers or a bunch of dirty pale crawlers. Question number 1, true or false? Although this movie takes place in North Carolina, the entire film was actually shot in Scotland.
I'm gonna say true.
True.
I think like 2 of them had accents. I'll say true.
Everybody take a card. It is true. Question number 2. The unnamed cave the girls descend into is in the fictitious Chattanooga National Park. What famous horror film is Chattanooga National Park a reference to? Is it A, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, B, Deliverance, C, Silence of the Lambs, or D, Psycho?
Silence of the Lambs.
Deliverance.
I was gonna say Deliverance.
Well, then that means you both take a card. It is Deliverance. It is one of director Neil Marshall's favorite movies of all time. And yeah, his inspiration for most of his movies is he loves like kind of, we're gonna go do this one thing, and then all of a sudden it's like horrible tragedy happens. Question number 3, speaking of lies, not a single scene in this film was shot in a real cave. How many individual cave sets were built for this production? Closest guess wins.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was too dangerous to shoot in a real cave.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe it's shot near the mouth of the cave. That's cool. Wow. That makes it even better.
Really well on that.
Yeah, that makes it even better. I was like, wow.
That's amazing.
I appreciate that craftsmanship. 20.
50?
I'm gonna lowball it and say like 13.
Javier wins. It is 21 different caves. It took him like almost a year to build the caves for this movie.
Wow. That's cool. So where most of their budget went to, probably.
Question number 4, true or false? The girls rehearsed a ton with the crawlers, and it took a lot of acting to like really kind of gear up and like remember they were supposed to be afraid of them because they were so friendly with the, stunt people and actors.
False.
True.
I'll say false.
It is false. Yeah, the girls had never met any of the actors that played the crawlers, and half the crew, except for Juno and folks who were actually in the had to do fight combat, didn't know that was part of the movie. So the initial screams of terror when they first see them are very real.
That's amazing.
Because a few of the actors really thought they were just we're in a girl power stuck in a cave movie. And then it was oh no, this is a monster movie. Question number 5, true or false? The scene where Sarah finds Beth barely clinging to life after accidentally being struck by Juno had to be rewritten last minute because the actors refused to say the original dialogue.
False.
True.
False.
It is true.
Ooh.
The actresses found the dialogue very condescending and mildly sexist and refused to shoot it. So the two ladies and director Marshall went to a nearby pub and wrote out the entire scene on a napkin mid-production.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It was pretty cool.
Now I'm
They're
intrigued.
just no.
Yeah.
It was no, I'm not going to be look, we're sisters. We have to do this or whatever. And he's just they were no, we're not saying that.
Yeah.
These are clearly really strong, important women. Who are
Yeah. That's cool.
Good
That's
for
awesome that
them.
they,
Exactly.
took that
That's
to
great.
heart. Yeah.
Question number 6. I didn't finish writing this question because I wrote it this morning. Damn. Good on Chuck. Okay. I remember this, though.
Okay.
I'm going to come up with options on the fly, though.
Okay.
This is a very professional podcast. I might leave all this in, actually. This is great. Question
You're
number
pissing off our executive producer, Chuck.
I know. I got it. Where's the money going, Addy? Follow the paper trail. Question number 6. Claustrophobia was always an important theme to Marshall. Which unconventional casting method was used to cast the group of girls? Is it A, having them all read their sides underneath a table with chairs pushed in? B, having them all read their sides while trapped in a closet? Or C, having them read all of their sides completely in the dark and never actually seeing their scene partner?
Trapped in a closet.
In the dark.
In the dark.
He made all of the girls get on their hands and knees and individually read dialogue to each other under separate tables. So that they would kind of fake being in a little tiny chasm.
Okay.
Great.
Question number 7. Although it eventually became a smash hit and a horror classic, the opening weekend for The Descent was dismal. What was most likely to blame? A very similar big-budget American film called The Cave was released the exact same weekend. B, the London bombings, a terrorist attack, happened the week of distribution and trapped several people underground. Or C, an ad campaign involving the crawlers was deemed racially insensitive.
I'm going to say B.
Then I'll go with C. I don't know why, but C.
It is B. So unfortunately, literally the weekend this movie's supposed to be released, the London bombings happened in 2005, and they literally had an ad campaign on the buses that some of the people were trapped in that said, "Nothing feels more terrifying than this."
Oh.
And so they literally people boycotted the movie because it was people were, literally I was trapped underground after a terrorist attack and I was just stuck staring at this movie poster.
Ooh, that is rough.
Yeah, this is just bad timing.
Horrible timing.
And there was not a lot of trivia on this. I didn't feel like bullshitting. So this is a short and sweet trivia. Final question. Question number 8. 2 versions of the film exist, the original UK and a US version. Why was America given its own separate cut of the film? A, some of the more violent scenes that had been originally cut were added back in for the US. B, the original version featured some anti-American dialogue between the girls at the cabin. Or C, the original ending was deemed too bleak for American audiences?
A.
C.
Javier kind of cheated because he think he already knew. It is C.
Yeah, I did.
So yeah, and this is also like, your biggest nitpick is, just the American version, apparently, Addy, because in the UK version, Sarah awakens after the Juno ghost jump scare to find herself still in the cave.
Oh,
That
So
would
she
have been
never got out.
so much better.
So when she fell into that
Absolutely.
final hole, she like passed out.
I like that version better.
I do too.
Damn.
Hey, Miranda sweeps. Congratulations, Miranda.
Who invited her?
y'all did.
Cheater.
And it is at this time we'd like to take our moment to thank our executive producer, Addy Martinez, who is sitting across the table from me. Thank you, Addy.
Thank you, Addy.
You're welcome.
Without your love and support, we'd still be stuck in an underground hole in the ground. If you'd like to dig us out, you can do so by joining the Nostalgia Killers Patreon at patreon.com/Nostalgia Killers Podcast. And without further ado, we'll take our second ad break. Ad break number 2. And we're back with Act 3, the award categories. And it's time to start it off with my wife's favorite category, my new band name. Any memorable quotes or references that would make a cool, edgy band name, song title, album title?
I got Adapted to Live.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So that's when I believe Becca is checking out the monster and she's just like, yeah, they've adapted to live in the dark down here. I was thinking it might be like a hard on the sleeve kind of emo indie alternative band, very raw vocals and like music all over the place. But yeah, Adapted to Live.
I chose Not on My Head, which was said by Sam when her and Becca had just figured out like they were blind and they only listen to noise, and then they hear Juno in the background screaming. They're kind of like, oh, well, she doesn't know,
She's going to draw them all in.
Yeah.
She didn't bring all those monsters down on her
exactly.
head.
And
not
then,
on my head.
Yeah, exactly.
Or as long
just
as it's
not on my head.
Yeah.
I decided to make it a rock band for 2 reasons. One, because of like all the intense like fighting scenes, I can imagine some like hard heavy metal going on while they kick ass. Second reason, rock band, cave, rocks.
It's pretty deep. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have, my band is Don't Trust Juno. It's an indie folk band with their album Lemon Orgasm. That's in reference to the joke that Becca tells Sarah to get her to calm down. Yeah. And their song is their hit single is Not Enough Rope.
Yeah, I had Love Each Day. They're a Christian rock band, which is the like what's engraved on the little like tacky necklace thing that he gives every girl he sleeps with apparently. And their song is You Make It Look Easy, in parentheses, You Make It Look Hard. In reference to the movie, it's them climbing the rope, but in reference to the band to be about Jesus, of course. And then their album was Named After You, which again, the cave, what Juno says, but in reference to the band, let's be real, it's probably Jesus. Speaking of Jesus, we've got the Roger Deakins Would Be Proud Award for cinematography.
When Juno and Sarah finally like meet up after like all the attacks and stuff, and they start like going through that narrow tunnel space, I just like the way the camera moves with it. When they take a step down, the camera like visibly moves down, follows them. The lighting, the ambiance, it was definitely just one of my favorites.
I'm gonna take it back to the beginning of the podcast, the pool of blood. I mean, it's just so beautifully lit, and like we get some wide angles, we get some. I especially liked when Sarah's like laying on the rock and the crawler is just walking over her, and you just like that moment.
I have all the Dutch angles in the movie, right? And so the Dutch angles, that's where the camera's tilted. So it kind of looks like everything's at an angle. They do that a couple times when they like clip on their gear with like, come on girls, we're going to do this. Clip, their little climbing gear. But then there's also like in one of the final standoffs too, I think there's a Dutch angle in that too. But it just, it's one of those things that gets overused a lot, but like it looks cool in this movie. I like it a lot. And maybe that's something to do with the the space and the claustrophobic. Maybe that's why the Dutch angles look okay. But
Yeah, I had the wide shot of Sarah crawling up the pile of bones to freedom.
yeah,
It's like perfectly lit. It's like she's just crawling on the path of light.
yeah,
Up to and then it does the classic, like, one hand out of the ground. She's like, like, I made it.
yeah.
That was my second choice. I also held my breath for that entire scene until both of her legs and feet were out.
Yeah.
I was waiting for something to grab her.
And then just as a general, I had written like the whole movie, just because again, like I mentioned earlier, just the fact that they're able to keep the film like interesting, right, and engaged, like even though there's like a lot of darkness, right, their use of like that red light, the green light, and the yellow light,
Or when they use the cameras as well.
yeah, or the night vision,
Yeah.
it just it's good that they use all these little tricks to kind of like spice it up and not just have just like pitch blackness the whole movie. So
I couldn't find a way to work it into a question, but since you brought up the green light was a last minute lighting decision. A PA ran to a sex shop around the corner from where they were shooting and bought like a weird, like kinky light setup, like, kind of like a spice up the bedroom sort of thing. And yeah, the one thing that they took out of that kit was like the green light. Is that Channing Tatum in a dog collar? I didn't know who anybody in this movie was, so I didn't have anything.
yeah, this is the first time I also had nobody. Yeah.
I even like clicked on each of the crawlers that Google
Oh,
suggested
okay.
because they had like 5 of them listed, I think. And I was like, maybe I know this person. No.
It's like, no, it's like a background actor in like an episode of Doctor Who or something. It's like, oh, okay.
It's all the orcs from Lord of the Rings, man.
The crawlers looked very familiar to me, and it's been bugging me all day because I can't put my finger on like what they resemble like from another movie, but it might be.
They also kind of look like the dudes from Mad Max Fury Road.
They do.
Oh.
It might be it.
We got the Hans Gruber Death Fall Award. What was your guys' favorite death scene in the movie?
Sam's, when she
Hanging from the ceiling. That's what I had.
Amazing. That was so great. Because it was already intense, and then you have this crawler that like comes down and just like slashes her throat, and like with her last dying breath, she does this one. That was great.
Yeah.
And then she's just like that shot too. That was like kind of looking up at her, and she's just hanging. I was like, damn.
Yeah. The blood is like coming down her face.
Yeah, that was my favorite for sure.
Going back to what you said earlier, Javier, but Beth's death, just because of like the rock getting like slammed against her skull.
Miranda's like, I actually liked that she got killed by a rock.
Nothing peaceful, just like straight to the point. Bash her head.
Going back to what Miranda said earlier, I had Sarah trying to get away from the crawler, coming out of the blood pool and just stabbing the crawler in the eye, and it's like, and like falls back. Yeah, it's a story. Why do they? I mean, this is more just a question than a nitpick or anything. I don't know where else to put this. Why do they have what is the pool of blood? Is that like where they lay their eggs or something? Like, why do they have like a giant just bloodbath?
Right, because they don't drain. They never like drain like the people or anything.
No,
like that.
they like just eat them or whatever. At least it looks like it.
Maybe they just eat the meat and like the blood just like trickles down the cave to this little hole. But again, we're thinking about it.
Maybe they're halal. Maybe they like they're all kosher. They have to like bleed the animal kind of thing. Why Luke likes Waterworld, a controversial hot take. Yeah, you guys have any hot button opinions on this movie?
Not really, to be honest.
I wasn't sure that was a hot take until we all talked about it. I like this ending better than the original. Sorry, I like the US ending better than the UK ending.
Boo!
I'm curious, what is your interpretation of that?
Right, she's like seeing these hallucinations as like her way of like dealing with like the grief and the trauma of like what happened, and kind of implying that like, okay, like you survived, you overcame this big thing, and like, maybe now you'll be able to move past like the trauma of like losing your daughter. But also, like, despite what she did, you just, like, murdered your best friend.
Gotcha.
So, like, now you also have to deal, on some level, you have to deal with the fact that you left well, not even murder. You didn't murder. You left your best friend to die, right? You couldn't even do her the nice thing of, like, well, let me just, nice thing of just, like, let me just take you out. But, like, no, I'm going to stab you in the leg, and you're going to get ripped apart by fucking monsters. And, like, and again, it's like, dude, like, I mean, she cheated on with your husband, but I'm like, is that like worthy of a death sentence? Like, could have just kicked your ass or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I actually like the ending, but I think it's just because I feel like I did pick up on whether that was intentional. That's kind of the intention that I took from it. And so I was like, okay, like now she's haunted by the really fucked up thing she just did to
this new trauma.
Yeah, to essentially her best friend. I feel like maybe like at that point in time, like if I'd seen it in 2005 or when was it come out?
Yeah,
like that. You're right. We did have a lot less of those kind of like bleak endings. So maybe it would have been cooler like back then. Like to be like, whoa, this is kind of dark and edgy. And like she never got out. But I feel like nowadays we do have more of those like really bleak endings. So now like this isn't like special to me in that like, oh, like the UK is not, the UK's version isn't like anything I haven't already seen.
Fair enough. I just always get pissed off anytime there's just like a shitty jump scare and then credits. Like I'm like, that's it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I was definitely waiting for Sarah to get like into a car crash or have that giant semi just like destroy the car that she's sitting in. And then so I think like I just kept imagining things that would possibly happen to her since the moment she started crawling out of that cave. That was very like I was expecting her to get pulled back down by a crawler or like again crash, run herself off the road, things like that. And then for that to be the ending of just like, oh, there she is again. There's Juno. Okay. So I think that's what my imagination was just going crazy. So
yeah, I said justice for Juno. I said infidelity and exploring an unknown cave aside, she deserved to be the main character. She's the only person who like kept perpetually going back to try and save her friends. Like aside from accidentally killing Beth, like which was a complete accident. She was the one that was like, I'm not leaving without Sarah. Everyone else is, obviously learned that the monsters are like, coming for sound and like are blind and all that. But she's the only one who's the whole movie is like, Becca, where are you? Sarah, where are you? Like trying to find everybody and reunite the gang and get them all out together.
Yeah. Everybody was just kind of just hiding and trying to survive. And she's like, I need to go
survive with the fittest. Yeah. She slept with your man? Like, survive. Get out. Use her to get out of the hole and then be mad at her.
It's much more painful to keep living with knowing what you did than to just die.
I think it was pretty petty of Beth on her deathbed. It's like that's what you're gonna use your like last breath to say, not like I love you or like survive. She's just like, oh, Juno did A, B, and C.
Yeah, Beth knew, bro. So like, what's up with Beth? Fuck Beth too.
Yeah, like, exactly. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Silence is violence.
Like she knew for a whole year, but she didn't tell anything say anything until it was convenient.
Well, from the very beginning, you can tell that Beth knows.
So got Blue Velvet meets Blue's Clues. What film would you guys mash this up with to make a better movie or an absolute train wreck?
So it's not a movie, but it is a very well-known show called Dora the Explorer.
Tell me more about this Explorer Dora.
Just imagine her like in like that cave. Where's the monsters? Where's the crawlers? Do you see any crawlers? Exactly. I don't know.
Also, there's a movie actually. Remember the live action one?
Oh,
so you can't see the live action. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, that never would have went down for Dora because she would have had the map the whole time.
Exactly. Talking backpack.
Backpack with like limitless amount of tools. Yeah.
I had the Goonies.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
I was like, just a ragtag group of kids. I was like, they're just murdering these crawlers and like, it'd be the most unintentional ways too. Like one of them would accidentally drop something on one of their heads and like, I was like, it's like, yeah.
Guys, we gotta find the treasure.
Yup.
Fuck yeah, that's a great one actually.
It's like, and like I said, I just didn't picture them unintentionally. Like it's like, oh gosh, it's like dropping things. I don't know.
I didn't think about that. That's awesome. I had The Descent meets The Thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you're fighting off creatures and maybe your best friends. So why don't we just get right to the point and just meld them together? You're trapped down there with a shape-shifting monster that can turn into your friends and crawl around in the dark.
Yeah.
They could do a Thing sequel and have it take place during cave diving. Yeah.
Your husband didn't cheat on you with Juno. Your husband cheated on you with a space creature. I had The Descent meets Pitch Black. So just as the girls are at the end of their rope, Vin Diesel emerges as Riddick and starts just tearing crawlers apart. And they get on their spaceship and fly away, Here comes Kanye. Pluggables. Anything you guys want to mention? No? Okay.
Nope, just this lovely show.
Subscribe, listen, tell your friends. I just will quick plug again. Hopefully I get on the editing train. But I've got the Wizards of Elixir competition on October 29th for my day job. So I will be competing at Brewster's in Petaluma, California in a Halloween-themed cocktail competition.
Yeah.
And tickets are available at wizardsofelixir.com.
They are available now. Awesome.
Yeah. Do we call Jules and Vincent good or bad? Is this movie worth a rewatch? Do we let it live? Do we kill it? What do we do, gang?
I'm recommending this to people, absolutely, if they haven't seen it.
Let it live and push it on to people.
Exactly. I just want to see their reactions now that I've seen it. Just all right.
I like it. Yeah, let it live. But the UK ending.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, this is not a fake out ending, guys.
Yeah.
This movie is living. For sure. I've seen it multiple times. I think the last time I saw it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm glad that my opinion still kind of held up. And I was like, yeah, dude, this movie's great. I love it. It's fun. It's a fun little spooky season movie. So yeah absolutely.
That's good intro to spooky season too. Yeah. I also said let it live. Now that I know which movie this is, I'm I kind of kicked myself for, only watching it now because it came out almost 20 years ago. Which brings us to the end of our show. We've got the Sonic Death Monkey Top 5 brought to you by Goose and Fern English Pub here in Santa Rosa, California. And for today's Top 5, we've got top 5 movie characters you'd like to be stuck in a cave with.
We're going to keep the theme of Brendan Fraser. I chose Rick O'Connell from The Mummy.
Yeah.
He's already been exploring some stuff, some tombs. He's already fought creatures from the underworld. So, that's a little step above. I think I would like to be stuck in a cave with him in this scenario.
Hell yeah. My number 5, who knows how long I'm going to be stuck down in that cave for? It might be a long time. I might get bored. So why don't I bring the world's best storyteller ever? I'm going to be stuck with Forrest Gump.
That sounds like literal hell.
I like Forrest, man. I want to hear so many stories. I don't, and I just, and just the hope and the optimism that it'll all work out. We're all going to be fine. And and you know what? He just has the best fucking most amazing luck in the world. So maybe we'll get out right away. Never tell you, she's gonna be never tell you I was a professional cave diver. I'm oh, perfect. No, you didn't.
So I don't know if this is my number 5. Necessarily, I put the kind of obvious Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
he's been around, he's explored. It's I trust his gut.
Yeah, my number 5, I had the Croods from the movie The Croods. They're already cave people, so they could probably navigate a cave system. They'd probably get me out of there.
I also decided on Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil.
Yeah.
He's already blind, he can use his senses. He's a good fighter. That'd be perfect, especially since we would have to be quiet. He can just use his senses and just kind of point to us, that direction or over there.
Hell yeah.
The man without fear.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
My number 4, I have Chewbacca.
What's Chewbacca gonna do?
He's got animal instincts. Maybe he's got a really good sense of smell, right? He's strong. I mean, those things aren't going to do anything to Chewbacca. Chewbacca will keep them at an arm's length and just rip their heads off. Wookiees are notorious for ripping people's arms off. Yeah, man, I'll feel safe. And if I get cold in the cave, I'll just snuggle up next to him.
So you have cuddles and good stories.
Yeah.
Number 4 would be Moliere, aka Mole from Atlantis.
Oh,
hell yeah.
It's
nice.
He'd be entertaining, and I feel like he'd be useful in a cave full of dirt.
Let's kill these crawlers.
Yeah, my number 4, I had Rick O'Connell from The Mummy as well.
Nice.
Because, he can get us out of there. He's already plundering, he's already taken on, I'm not even going to try to say the name of the mummy. But yeah, the mummy himself.
I'm in survival mode. I chose Van Helsing as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's fought vampires. He's
a monster hunter.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a walk in the park for him. So
my number 3, Miranda taking all the good picks. And my number 3, I have Daredevil.
Nice.
Same reason you mentioned. So yeah.
Didn't even cross my mind. Proud of both of you.
I had Reizo from Ninja Assassin.
Oh.
Oh, is that it? I don't even remember his name.
I didn't even know he had a name.
Yeah. He's trained to be super quiet. He's a ninja. They're not going to be... He can go kill them all. And then, figure it out from there.
Probably carry you on his back and just like backflip out of there. And like,
Oh, absolutely.
oh, he can cave crawl. Yeah, he's a ninja.
My number 3, I had The Thing from Fantastic Four. Because, he's made out of rock. He can probably smash some rock and get us out of the rocks. Like, completely rearrange the earth. Also, I'm curious, actually. Maybe that's a bad pick. I don't know if that's, like, if he's hurting his brethren by, like, getting us out of the cave.
Not necessarily cannibalism, but close.
I also chose Lara Croft from Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Miranda's just surrounded by badasses.
Exactly.
So nothing's touching me.
Yeah, no.
So for my number 2, I had somebody who's got experience being stuck in a cave of wonders. I got Genie from Aladdin.
Oh.
First of all, it's first wish, get me the hell out of here, please. And then I got 2 more wishes. And even if I can't avoid the question and I have to be stuck down there, well, I got 3 wishes. So let's make the cave more homey. Let's get rid of these creatures and I don't know, let's bring the whole civilized world down here, I guess.
It's gonna drag us all down with you.
It's like you use your first wish to get out, and then the last wish is to bring everybody down.
No, if he had to be stuck in the cave.
Like if I was like, you're avoiding the question, you can't get out of the cave, right? Okay.
I had Tinkerbell because she's tiny. She can fit through everything. She's a little portable light. She can figure it out while we kill off the monsters, and then she'll lead us back unless she decides to get sassy.
I was like, yeah, she's also sassy pants.
Me.
Yeah, she'll be like, deuces.
Tink, no, I didn't mean it. It's Bales. For my number 2, I had the Goonies, because the Goonies never say die. And also, they all have their own separate skill sets. Got Sloth, able to probably destroy every crawler down there, and
Definitely excited for my number 1. I chose Gollum / Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. One...
That sounds like a terrible time.
Listen. If I stay on his good side, though, it'll work.
He'll show you the way out?
He'll show me the way out.
Follow me.
He's scrawny enough and, flexible enough to, go through, through the small spaces and a lot faster. So he's used to it.
Are you Miranda?
No, but he is. So he'll know a way out. And with my team, I'm getting out. So
she's got her guide and she's got her bodyguards.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I need. Plus, he's also very similar to the pale man. I don't know. Maybe he can kind of blend in there, get some inside info for us.
For my number 1, how do you take the talent of literally hundreds of different professionals? How do you take an incalculable amount of skill, perfection, and place it into one person? I have Barbie.
Oh. Weird.
She's been a doctor. She's been a lawyer. She's probably... I'm sure there's a Cave Explorer Barbie. There's a Tomb Raider Barbie. I mean, everything. Come on. Barbie. Nothing bad ever happens to Barbie. Barbie's gonna get out just fine. Then, if I'm stuck in a cave with, Barbie and Margot Robbie, I tell my wife, I was stuck down there. I was in a hypothetical situation. I couldn't get out. I picked,
What a left field choice. Baffled every time. That's why we do the show, though.
For my number 1, I had Elastigirl because I will not die falling.
There you go.
And she can build bridges with her body. She can parachute me out of somewhere if I need to, but I will not fall to my death.
Yeah, for my number 1, I had Stanley Yale-Nance and Zero from Holes, because they be digging up them holes. They know how to get out of there.
Amazing.
They're going to crack open a fresh can of sploosh or slosh or whatever. I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah.
No, this is Stanley Yale-Nance the 4th, by the way. Yeah.
4th, yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully. I mean, his dad might be able to dig. I don't know. Well, thank you so much for listening. I've been Chuck Martinez.
I have been Javier Martinez.
I have been Addy Martinez.
I have been Miranda Martinez.
And we have been the Nostalgia Killers.
Bang, bang.